Hi, everybody. So it's time to find out what my next 5 reads are going to be. The priority reads jar has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. There's only 10 left, but be aware that one of them is a big chunky trilogy by Ken Follett. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through all of these 10 by the end of the year, and if I don't, I don't, but let's see what the next 5 are going to be. So inside this jar are the remaining 10 books that I haven't read yet this year, so I'm just going to give it a shake, and then I'm going to pick the 5 books, and next to me are all of the books, so I can hold them up and I can read the backs for them for you. So here we go. Number 1. What is the next book I will read? Oh, let's go for this one that's kind of caught in my hand. Okay, so my next read is... Oh! This is a book that I've had for years and years and years, and it is called What Was Rescued by Jane Bailey. Now, to very quickly explain this is a book which this printed copy is quite unique because Jane Bailey actually published this through Amazon. She was at the Cheltenham Literature Festival various years ago. She's a local author where I live, and there was an event talking about local authors, and she had brought out this book earlier that year for Kindle and such through Amazon, but Amazon very kindly allowed her to have printed copies made for the Literature Festival, which she signed, and I got a copy there. This is why I got the sticker that says signed by the author. So yeah, there were no other printed copies as far as I am aware, but there we go. So the back. No ocean is deep enough to sink the truth. In the autumn of 1940, 4 children met on a train. Behind them is London under heavy aerial attack. Ahead of them is a ship bound for the safety of Canada. Arthur has promised not to let his little brother Philip out of his sight. Pippa and Dora are on their own, polar opposites yet bound together by the adventure of a lifetime. But disaster strikes mid-Atlantic, and in the chaos, one of the children makes a choice that will determine the course of all 4 lives. As they grow into adulthood, forging their futures and falling in love, the survivors continue to reflect on the events of that night. It's not just what was lost that darkens their lives, it's what was rescued that casts a long shadow too. One of them has a terrible secret and thinks it went down with the ship, a secret that could shatter what happiness they've managed to find, but a secret is just a truth waiting to be revealed. And I remember particular this lecture because Jane was talking about she just happened to be researching various children who were evacuated from areas, and in our local area there were a group of children, even though it was in the country, they were caught up in the evacuation stuff. I think they might have come from London to this area, and then they were evacuated on further. I might be completely wrong about that. But anyway, on the way to Canada, the ship sunk and a load of children died. And it was a really sad thing that happened. And she just stumbled across this doing research, and it brought about this book. So the next book I will be reviewing is What Was Rescued by Jane Bailey. Okay, book number 2. I don't know, we might get the Ken Follett trilogy this time because we're getting smaller and smaller. Oh, there we go. There's one in my hand. So the next one is a book that I have been wanting to read for quite some time, and that is Death by Shakespeare, Snakebite, Stabbings and Broken Hearts by Catherine Harkup. So I got this when I went to Stratford-upon-Avon this time last year, and I had seen this book online, and it was just sat there in the middle of Shakespeare's birthplace book area of the shop, and I was like, yes, I have to buy it. I can't leave the shop without it. So William Shakespeare found dozens of different ways to kill off his characters, and audiences today still enjoy the same reactions: shock, sadness, fear that they did more than 400 years ago when these plays were first performed. But how realistic are the deaths, and did Shakespeare have the knowledge to back them up? In the Bard's day, death was a part of everyday life. Plague, pestilence, and public executions were a common occurrence. It was also a time of important scientific progress. And Shakespeare kept pace with anatomical and medical advances. He certainly didn't shy away from portraying the reality of death on stage. Elizabethan London provides the backdrop for Death by Shakespeare as Catherine Harkup investigates the bard and the varied and violent ways his characters die. Was death by snakebite as serene as Shakespeare makes out? Could lack of sleep have killed Lady Macbeth? Can you really murder someone by pouring poison in their ear? Catherine investigates these actual events may have inspired Shakespeare, what the accepted scientific knowledge of the time was, and how Elizabethan audiences might have responded to the death scenes. Death by Shakespeare will tell you all this and more in a roller coaster of Elizabethan carnage, poison, swordplay, and bloodshed, with the occasional death by bear mauling, for good measure. So, yeah, I like the thought of actually taking all of these imaginative ways that Shakespeare killed off his characters and go, what did they know then? Is it actually scientifically possible to do that? I really love the concept. So Death by Shakespeare is the second one. Okay, number 3. Oh, got one already. Ooh. Let's say with fewer and fewer bits of paper, they just grab easily in my hand. And it is, the other book that I picked up in Stratford on that trip last year, which is Richard III and the Princes in the Tower by Alison Weir. Now, Richard III was the play that, well, one of the plays that I went to see in that trip. And I was just, and obviously because it was on in Stratford-upon-Avon, all the Stratford-upon-Avon bookshops had a Richard III section. And I particularly wanted to look out for Alison Weir. I think she's a really, really great historian. I love reading her books. And I had actually read a book of hers about the Princes in the Tower, where obviously Richard featured, but obviously because the focus were on the princes, he only featured when needed, talking about how he was their uncle, and then obviously the end of the story and the beliefs and everything that happened. Whereas on the flip side, this is going to be completely focused on Richard, and the princes will feature when they need to be featured. So I think it'll be really interesting to read this. So, it says with a new foreword by the author. Oh, okay. Didn't even know. Forward to the 2014 edition. Ah, okay, right. So she, and she's got the author's preface. So, okay, so looks like she did another forward then in 2014. So, the story of the death in sinister circumstances of the boy king Edward V and his younger brother Richard, Duke of York, is one of the most fascinating murder mysteries in English history. It is a tale with profound moral and social consequences, rich in drama, intrigue, treason, scandal, and violence. In this gripping book, Alison Weir re-examines all the evidence, including that against the prince's uncle, Richard III, whose body was recently discovered in Leicester. That must be why, because this edition was not long after Richard's body was found, okay. She brilliantly reconstructs the whole chain of events leading to the murder and reveals how, why, and by whose order they died. So there we go. Richard III and Prince in the Tower by Alison Weir is book 3. Okay, number 4. What's it gonna be? Oh, let's go for this one. Ooh. Number 4 is it is The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. Oh my god, I have gotten through, then once I read this, I've gotten through all of Kate Morton's books apart from The Clockmaker's Daughter, which I tried to read and I just couldn't, so I'm going to give that another go next year. And her most recent book, which came out earlier this year. I've read otherwise her entire bibliography this year once I read this book. and this is her very first one. My mum and my sister love Kate Morton's writing. Yes, there are some problematic reads, just simply because, you know, badly constructed, you know, that problematic, not, you know, like politically problematic or anything. But yeah, they absolutely, both of them have said, please get to the House of Riverton as soon as you can. I'm like, it's in my jar, I can't pick it until I pick it, and now I can. So, a story of love, mystery, and a secret history revealed. Summer 1924. On the eve of a glittering social party by the lake of a grand English country house, a young poet takes his life. The only witnesses, sisters Hannah and Emmeline Hartford, will never speak to each other ever again. Winter 1999. Grace Bradley, 98, one-time housemaid at Riverton Manor, is visited by a young director making a film about the poet's suicide. Ghosts awaken and old memories, long considered to be in darkness, long considered to the dark reaches of Grace's mind, begin to sneak back through the cracks. A shocking secret threatens to emerge, something that history has forgotten, but Grace never could. Set as the war-shattering Edwardian summer surrenders to the decadent 20s, The House at Riverton is a thrilling mystery and a compelling love story. So there we go. Book 4 will be The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. And finally, Book 5. What is it going to be? Oh, let's go for the one that's between my fingers. Okay. Will it be a single book? Will it be a trilogy? Let's find out. Oh, it's a single book, and it is Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. Now, this is the fictionalized, and I want to really emphasize that word, fictionalized account of Marilyn Monroe's life. It was made into a Netflix film, as mentioned here. It's not a sticker, and it really irritates the heck out of me because that is a beautiful cover, and then they've got the massive... I hate it when publishers do that. But yes, it was made into a Netflix film. I saw the Netflix film. I absolutely loved it. And so I was like, I really, really want to get the book. So I did. So now a major Netflix film, cast this, Okay. Blonde is a mesmerizing novel about the most enduring and evocative cultural icon of the 20th century, the woman who became Marilyn Monroe. A fragile and gifted young woman, Norma Jean Baker, makes and remakes her identity. She's the orphan whose mother is declared mad, the woman who changes her name to be an actress, the fated celebrity, lover and muse. Told in her voice, Blonde shows a culture hypnotized by its own myths and the devastating effects it has on Hollywood's greatest star. So there we go. Book 5 will be Blonde. So, in the order that I will be reading them, we have... Oh dear, nearly dropped the books. That's a good way to start this sum up. So we have What Was Rescued, then Death by Shakespeare, Richard III and the Princess in the Tower, The House at Riverton, and Blonde. I think that's quite an interesting mix of books to read there. So there we go. I'm looking at the final 5, which includes the Ken Follett trilogy. Oh, that is an interesting mix. But, you know, I will reveal those 5 books in the order that I will be reading them once this 5 is done. So I better crack on and read the first one on the pile. So I will be back with my thoughts on Jane Bailey's What Was Rescued as soon as I'm done. All right then. Bye.